If you want to find out how to lose the league, follow Dom's draft strategy. We're going to cover how to not do that and more on today's action-packed episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball.
You are Locked On Fantasy Baseball, your daily fantasy baseball podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, fantasy baseball fanatics, and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast, brought to you by Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, we're your number one source for fantasy baseball knowledge, and thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. I'm your host, Matthew Annen, here with my co-host, Dominic Martino. If you're watching on the YouTube, please hit the bell below, and that'll subscribe you to the channel and give you a notification every time we drop a new episode. Also, please leave us a 5-star rating on Apple or Spotify. And if you can, drop a review as well. That'll be super helpful. And you might as well join us on Subtext as well. If you're going to leave us a review, it'll help you get a lottery ticket into the Listener League. And we'll be announcing the last 4 spots on March 20th. So you want to get in there, do both, and it'll be a grand old time. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. New customers join today, and you'll get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started today. And all right, guys, even though I'm stumbling and I'm moving, I'm grooving, I had a rough night drinking, but Dom, I think, was really hitting the sauce when he was doing this draft. And you know what? It may be the unpopular opinion, but you know what? I also just look at his team and I'm like, okay, but before I tear him a new one and we make him walk funny for the rest of the
Matt,
show.
Dude, I don't. First of all, let me start by saying I thought we were friends. I thought we were brothers. You know, when I read the intro, I give you such a a lovely open. I'm starting to think you don't like me anymore. Or I did something to you. I'm not sure what it is.
Well,
but,
you know what? Things are fickle here. When you do something like this, we got to talk about it. I got to give you a little spanking, and then we'll move on back to being friends tomorrow.
All right,
but,
so this is what I think we need to do for this one. I think this is a fun episode. People love the mock draft Mondays episodes, so I think we're gonna put up a poll and we're gonna see did Dom do a good job with this mock draft, and we're just gonna do a simple yes or no, and everybody sound off. I know we get a lot of people that watch this and listen, and if you're usually on the audio end, go on YouTube. We're gonna throw a poll up over there. Maybe we'll throw it on Twitter, and we'll have a good old time with this. But Matt, let's get to it. Let's throw my roster up here for everyone watching on YouTube. I'm gonna run through the roster real quick, and then I'm going to break down, what my strategy was, all that stuff. And then Matt's going to come in and throw the haterade all over it. And we're going to have a good time today, guys. So make sure you stay tuned. So this is a, head-to-head categories league, normal 5x5. I went in with a 6th overall pick. And I'm just going to read off my roster real quick. Mitch Garver at catcher, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. at first, Bryson Stott at second, Austin Riley at third, Xander Bogaerts at short, Corbin Carroll, Josh Lowe, Marcell Ozuna are my outfielders. I have Christopher Morel and Eloy Jimenez as my utility bats. My rotation is Tyler Glasnow, Tarek Skubal, Yuri Perez, Bailey Ober, Ryan Pepio, Gavin Williams, Tristan McKenzie, Seth Lugo, and Clayton Kershaw. For closers, I have Ryan Helsley, Yuki Matsui, and Mason Miller. And my last bench bat is Anthony Rizzo. And at the end here, my real strategy is throw Clayton Kershaw on the IL, and I want to pick up another bat, whoever that may be, would be yet to be determined, thing. So I started off with Corbin Carroll at the 6th overall pick. I think that's value. I think honestly he's a top 4 caliber guy. I throw him right up there with the Julios and the Bobby Witts. I think Corbin Carroll is going to be an absolute monster. Mookie Betts is right in there with one of those top overall guys too. So maybe top 5 overall Corbin Carroll. Loved getting him at 6. Came back around. Wanted to get a little bit more power with a guy like, Austin Riley, pair him with Corbin Carroll. I love that. With my 3rd pick, this is really the decision time, right? Matt and I talked about this, last week on Mock Draft Mondays. Do you go starting pitcher or do you try and sneak in one more bat? Where I was at, I didn't really love the arms that were out there. Kirby was out there. Pablo Lopez was out there. I didn't really feel super secure with one of them as my one. I said, you know what, let me wait and I'll come back around. Let me take Vladimir Guerrero, kind of the last of the Mohicans for the elite first baseman for me. I think Vladdy's still super young, 24, 25 years old. And we have seen, I think, maybe the best season, but I still think 30 home runs, 300 batting average, a bunch of RBIs is what you're going to get from Vladdy. I absolutely love that. Then I said, you know what, I need to start, getting into this rotation. Tyler Glasnow's there, right? And it's an upside play. But honestly, I feel like after, the top couple of guys go, I feel like after Cole, Burns, and Strider go, we're playing a crapshoot game anyway, right? Everyone's got their question marks. I think if Glasnow pitches, 180 innings, he's going to be a top, 5 starting pitcher, at least of that caliber anyway. So that's why I took Glasnow. Come back with my next pick. And my boy's there. My boy, the pterodactyl, Tarek Skubal. I know Matt doesn't like him, but I think he's been an industry darling though. I know he's been coming off the board. Actually, let me pull up ADP real quick here. But I know he's been coming off the board as normally like a top 12 starting pitcher. I don't think that's changed. If anything, I feel like it's maybe even went up a little bit as I double check here. So I think I got value on Tarek Skubal. Honestly, I think he's gonna have okay. So right now, according to let's do, I was going off old NFBC ADP. Let's do current fantasy pros. Tarek Skubal's coming off the board, 15th overall starting pitcher, pick 50. And, to get him as my SP2, it may not be the sexiest pairing of all time. It may be a super high upside pairing. I would normally like to grab a stabilizer. I would have loved to get a Logan Webb with Glasnow, but that didn't happen, went a little bit before me. So I said, let me take Tarek Skubal, who has all the talent in the world. He's throwing harder this spring. He looks good. Took that route. After that, actually, Matt, do we have we don't have any graphics of the draft after that, right? No, right? I do have to grab the way I went after that. But who did I go with next? I think I went Josh Lowe. I think I grabbed Josh Lowe. Needed to get another outfielder.
I got you. I got it right in front of me.
I went Josh Lowe after Skubal, right?
Yeah, and then you went Bogarts and Perez.
Yeah, okay. So I went Josh Lowe. I needed another outfielder. I love Josh Lowe. He was a little bit banged up, but I think he's on track to, be ready for opening day. I love him as an outfielder number 2. Then I want Bogarts. The thing with Bogarts is I really feel shortstop starts to thin out after him. And you could have taken the Jackson Holiday route. We don't know if 100% he's going to get the opening day job. He's looked a little bit better recently in spring training. So I really wanted to grab Bogarts and, get kind of just like a stabilizer in my, my hitting there. I'm kind of just going to go. I'm not really going to go round for round. I'll kind of just give my thoughts on all these players. We don't have a crazy amount of time before Matt's going to come in here and throw some hater rates. So I'm just kind of going to talk through it. Yeah, I know I needed some power. That's why I grabbed Ozuna, Morel, and Jimenez. I wanted to add some more power to this team after the Bogarts pick, after the Bryson Stott pick. So I grabbed them 3 to be the power. I took the Stott to give me the steals. And the batting average, I think he's going to produce. Mitch Garver's been on fire this spring, if anybody hasn't been watching. So I love Mitch Garver at catcher there. And Anthony Rizzo, also another guy that looks good this spring. He was good before the concussion last year. And honestly, I think he's going to be very good. As for my rotation, I know it's super risky. I know the Pepios and the Yuri Perez aren't really proven. Bailey Ober, I feels like, is a stabilizer at this point. Gavin Williams, Tristan McKenzie, upside plays there. So this is a very, very upside version of a pitching staff. But I feel like I can make do with it. And, if even half these guys pan out, I play the waiver wire pretty good. That's one thing you got to stay locked on with us for. Matt and I do very well with these waiver wire episodes during the season. But before, we jump in here, and Matt, honestly, look, he's chugging it already over there. If you're watching on YouTube, he's got the haterade ready. We just do have one quick ad for you guys.
Get bucks with your first bet on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 if your bet wins. Bet on all your favorite NBA players and teams with quick bets, live same game parlays, exclusive props, and more. And I'm not really a baseball bettor, but I am a basketball bettor, but I am a baseball bettor. And I'm going to tell you right now, you want to bet the over on Ellie De La Cruz for season long stolen bases, Bobby Witt's over for stolen bases, the under on Shohei Ohtani's home runs just because of the slow start. So like these are quick bets you might want to plug in and possibly even do a parlay for season long futures. I think you'll have a nice little victory at the end of the season. So just visit fanduel.com/locked on and shoot your shot. FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NBA. And guys, Locked On has launched its first ever national 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is here for you to cover 24/7, covering the top stories of the day with your local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national 24/7 streaming channel. Introducing the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast Diamond Club on Subtext, your ultimate fantasy baseball companion. Dive in this offseason with Dom and I as we provide you with tier-based rankings with over 100 outfielders and starting pitchers ranked. So 100 a pop, can't get deeper than that. You'll also have exclusive access to our prospect insights, sleepers, breakouts, busts, personalized draft grades. And when you got burning questions, we've got the answers. Plus, as the season unfolds, rely on our dynamic content, get real-time alerts right to your phone, including waiver wire rankings, instant call-up notifications, injury reactions, and a whole lot more. Stay ahead of your fantasy leagues by joining the Diamond Club on Subtext today, where the path to victory begins. Subscribe now and elevate that fantasy baseball experience to new levels. And lastly, since you're going to join, because you got like 2 weeks left of draft season.
Yeah, come on, guys. Get those entries in.
You're going to want to just hit us with the review on Apple and send us that DM, and you'll get a lottery ticket to get in the listening league for that drawing on March 20th. You got you got a week left. So let's get those in. Let's get popping. Let's win some leagues. All right. We're going to get back in this. I'm going to bring up Dom's team again. Let's make him feel silly now. So Dom, overall, man, like you went as risky as possible and no stabilization in either part of this. So whether it's your bats or your rotation. I'm going to start with your rotation, and then I'm going to break down things of pretty much how I would have done things better, because you could do a lot of things better. So first off, your 1 and 2 punch of Glasnow and Skubal. Their career alone, they both really haven't pitched many innings, and Glasnow especially hasn't had more than 120 innings pitched. So to do that and then pair him with Skubal, who also hasn't been a picture of health, and honestly, the velocity may just tear this guy's arm apart before he even hits 100 innings again. There's a lot of risk, especially early in this draft with that, and you double tap them as well. So you're really locked in a whole lot of risk. Like you pretty much bet the mortgage that month just on your thing. And honestly, and I understand that Skubal is a fantasy darling, but my mom always told me, if everybody's going to jump off a bridge, you're going to jump off with them. And the answer is no. Why would you do that? So like, that's how I'm treating Tarik Skubal. Because I can't trust that he's going to be able to handle his own power. It's like a boxer with plexiglass freaking hands. You punch somebody's hand breaks. Like, can't do that. But anyway, I also feel like Xander Bogaerts pick is really just like not doing it for me. The Vladimir Guerrero Jr. pick is not doing it for me, because you could have gotten better value and later in the draft by who was available around the Xander Bogaerts picks, and you could have gotten somebody else essentially around that time. So like I'm looking at your roster, right, and how you broke down how you picked, right? So right when you had Vlad, you could have went Marcus Semien. You could have got a better second baseman. You could have gotten Gunnar. You could have gotten, Altuve. You could have went, second or short right there, right? You could have, or Ellie De La Cruz. You could have got Corey Seager, right? Like these are guys all available around that round, and it would have gave you a lot more freedom later in the draft, right? And then, or you could have just went pitcher in the third round, because that's when you picked up Vlad. You could have got a Kirby. You could have got a Gallen, which you could have got a Yamamoto. You could have got a Pablo Lopez. Like all guys I'm taking over Tyler Glasnow, right? And then you would have came back to you and you would have had a whole lot of better options. Like you would have had a shot at, let's see here, O'Neal Cruz. You could have had a shot at Royce Lewis. You could have had a shot. Well, Royce, you already had a third at that point. You could have had just a little bit more play. And then later in the draft, especially when you double tapped for Tarik Skubal and you went double tap, meaning you went pitcher, you could have went and scooped up another outfielder, could have got, instead of like just having the Josh Lowe and then a super teardrop off at at who's your other outfielder? Marcelo Ozuna. Honestly, like I trust him more as my utility than my starting outfielder. Let's put it that way. And honestly, where you pick Xander Bogaerts, you could have got like a Nick Castellanos. You could have got, you could have done more. You even could have picked up Ellie De La Cruz. You still could have stuck with your Bryson Stott pick and got your second baseman. And then you could have picked Castellanos where you picked Xander Bogaerts, and you would have been chilling a lot better, and then got Vinny P much later in the draft. And your outfield would have looked way better. And then we could have worked on your starting pitcher in simultaneously. Like you would have had Zach Gallen or Yamamoto or any of the guys I named. Then you could have went and scooped up your Yuri Perez as a 2 or a Jesus Luzardo. Well, no, it was going the other way, but a Yuri Perez. And then you could have went the next round. And I mean, I'm just looking at guys that are going down the stream, and it's just like, man, you could have done a lot better in terms of safety and reliability in that aspect. Now, after those two, you kind of did all right. You got Yuri, you got Ober, you got Williams, right? But then you went and you got even riskier. You decided, okay, let me get the other Alberto Mondesi pitching and get Tristan McKenzie. And so, like, you have 3 of your 5, your 6 starting pitchers that could be on the IL after like a day or even just stepping on the mound. So, like, these guys are just super risky. I mean, and there is high reward. If Tyler Glasnow stays healthy the whole season, number 1 pitcher, Cy Young winner. Tarek Skubal, if he could do it, if he could stay healthy, there's a chance he'll finish in the top 5 in the Cy Young. I mean, Tristan McKenzie, same thing. But likelihood of all 3 of those guys staying healthy in a single season for you, Lord have mercy on your soul. It's just I just don't foresee it happening. Lastly, too, I mean, like I'm looking at the utilities, and I'm all about it. Actually, you did a really good job on the Christopher Morel, Eloy Jimenez to kind of get there. But again, Eloy Jimenez, he's killing it in spring training, but can he stay healthy this season? I would love to see that happen. But again, I swear to God, you're going to be out of IL spots by the end of April with everybody that we could be talking about going down, But if everybody were to stay healthy on this team and play, we'll say 155 games, let's go with that, right? You would do a really good job. But again, if I'm betting money on this team, I ain't. You don't really have anybody of real health outside of like Corbin Carroll, Xander Bogaerts, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Like even Josh Lowe is dinged up. Like you just literally went to I think the injury report and said, okay, I'm going to pick him. I'm going to pick him. I'm going to pick him and him and him. Okay. And it also said, instead of here's a side of fries, here's a side of ankle braces and crutches. So, just not my cup of tea. Also, too, walking away was like Ryan Helsley and Yuki Matsui. Matsui's the real one there. And to walk away with Helsley is also scary because Adam ranked way high last year and he completely disappointed and also couldn't stay healthy. Another IL spot you're going to have to take up. So it's just one of those things where you covered everything, but you really didn't. You really have to have really good medical insurance in order to draft this team. So, all my puns aside, sheesh. Oh, and I forgot about Clayton Kershaw, who already has an IL spot. But anyway, yeah. Sorry, we're still friends, I hope.
I mean, but, I'll get to talk in a minute, so we'll see.
Yeah. So I feel bad. I told you I was gonna make him walk a little funny after my point here, but ultimately, like Dom, like we could do better. But before that, and I let Dom rebuttal and try and justify this debauchery here. We got one more sponsor for you, and then we're gonna finish this show out. Talking smack to each other for the last 10 minutes.
And guys, we're talking about Amazon Fire TV. Fire TV is your destination for sports, from live games to highlights to in-depth analysis. Fire TV offers amazing viewing experiences with smart TVs as well as the Fire Stick that you can plug into your existing TV. That provides you access to millions of movies and TV episodes, as well as free and live TV. Whether it's opening weekend for baseball or the college basketball tournament, you're going to want to have a Fire TV. Fire TV recently created Fire TV channels to deliver a constant supply of the latest videos from your favorite sports brands, all for free. That includes all of us at Locked On and most of the big pro leagues and college conferences as well. Fire TV channels let you dive into all of the games, analysis, highlights, and more to keep up to date on all of the latest in the world of sports, including March Madness, NBA, MLB, and lots more. Not to mention great news, entertainment, gaming, travel, cooking videos as well. Check out Fire TV channels on Fire TV and Alexa devices. If you haven't checked out Fire TV channels, you should. Trust me on this. To learn more, visit amazon.com/lockedonfiretv today. And all right, guys, we're back here. And damn, Matt, I mean, sheesh. A lot of haterade. I think Matt filled up on it today. Just a little bit of a rebuttal, and then kind of talk about things from the 6th seed. I know a lot of you guys are drafting this weekend. We got a little bit of time here, so let's try and dig into that too. I fully agree with the pitching staff. The pitching staff is definitely a risky thing. Looking back, maybe Gallen in the 3rd is a better choice, but I think, like I said, I think everybody has their question marks when it comes to, after the top 3 at starting pitching. So you can honestly pick apart any of those pitchers if you want after that, in my opinion anyway. So when you make a pitching staff, I think you do have to take into consideration upside. If you're not getting the Burns or the Strider or the Cole, everyone kind of splits hairs after that, in my opinion anyway. Skubal, I think, honestly, will be pretty stable this year. Glasnow, always the card on him. I do like how I filled out the rest of this rotation, though, and I think there is a lot of upside there. I think we can make things work with the Yuri Perez, who I think is going to have a breakout season, the Bailey Ober, who I think is a pretty stable guy. Gavin Williams, I do like a lot. Seth Lugo is the guy too we didn't really have to talk about a lot. I think Seth Lugo is a perfect guy to add at the end of that rotation, just going to be a stabilizer. We kind of know who he is. Definitely a lot of injuries there, even with Helsley, as you said, guy who was injured last year, but honestly, I think his numbers still did look great, finished strong down the stretch. I think the Cardinals are going to be better than they are last year. I do want to see where I have Helsley ranked real quick, as I do pull up my rankings here. Where do I have Helsley? I have Helsley as my 13th closer. So in a 12-man league, kind of right on the verge there for Helsley. Yuki Matsui has looked really good when he pitched this spring training. Hopefully he's healthy. Mason Miller, we'll see. Probably do need a closer there. But where I really do disagree with you is the hitting. I think the hitting on this team really works very well together. And I don't really see where you see. I know Garver's an injury-prone guy, but Vladdy's pretty safe. Stott's safe. Riley's safe, Bogart's safe. Carroll, little thing with the shoulder last year, but he's pretty healthy throughout his career. Josh Lowe, little thing this spring, but he's been safe. Ozuna's been healthy. Not all of his career, but he's been we know what we're getting with Ozuna. Might miss a little bit of time here. Morel, not really anything. Eloy might be with your boy Mondesi and Byron Buxton over there one day, but that he's the only guy I think there's a huge injury question mark with as far as the bats go. I think everybody else honestly looks pretty good. Anthony Rizzo, a little banged up last year, but as the last man on my bench, a guy that could have 30 plus homers, 100 plus RBIs, and give you a positive batting average like 275 plus. I think he really works out well there. So overall, I mean, if I had to throw on a grade on this team, really love the hitting. The pitching isn't probably elite, but I still say this team's around a B- for me anyway. Matt, why don't you go on in there? I know Matt's gonna throw me. I'm surprised if I even get a passing grade here from Matt. But Matt, why don't you go with throw a grade here and any other little comments before we talk about maybe some strategy here going into this big draft weekend?
All right, I'm gonna say a D plus. Not to be really mean, but it's kind of justifiable. Like Bogarts not only is on a less of a team now because like with the exiting of Juan Soto, you also have him playing short a deep position that you could fill out better. And like I said, there was other opportunities to have higher value. Again, having Marcelo Ozuna as your starting outfielder was my issue with Ozuna, not my issue.
I
with
will
the
say
player.
this though, and you said Castellanos. I have him higher than Castellanos. I'm really high on Ozuna. 40 homers last year, 100 RBIs. Braves lineup going to be positive at batting average. I think he's undervalued.
I mean, I'm sure he's undervalued, but at the same time, it's just one of those things where it's like, okay, who do I trust more, right? How could I, especially when I'm doing a risky team like you are doing, in my opinion, I need to have some surefire things. And I feel like Castellanos is a little bit more surefire than Ozuna. And that's just me. We're going to differ
I
on that
mean,
one.
Castellanos really didn't do anything better than Ozuna last year. Maybe he had more runs and maybe a couple more steals, but other than that, I mean, Ozuna crushed him almost everywhere.
Okay. You know, we'll agree to disagree. But anyway, I look at it like this. You know, there was just a little bit more. I also felt you could have gotten Ozuna as your UT versus a starting outfielder because where you could draft him. And I understand you went lower, but you were trying to compensate for the poor top heavy of your starting rotation at that point to compensate for the lack there of health. Um, you know, it is what it is. I get what you're saying. Where like there's question marks too with every guy up there. Like, yes, you could say there's question marks surrounding Gallen with how many
Yeah,
innings
you
he pitched
honestly, yeah,
last
there's
year.
yeah, he threw
You
like
know,
250 innings last year.
right. But I mean, you know, the thing is though, he's done 200 innings 2 years in a row, whereas Tyler Glasnow hasn't even skated above 150 once in his
That's
career,
fair.
and his career is longer than Glasnow and than Gallen, and Gallen's already done it 2 times more than him already. Same thing with Skubal. So like that's the thing. It's like okay, I'm at the top of the draft, and I need to be as conservative as I can with the top end picks, just based off of the fact that that's where you could lose the draft is if you don't get somebody that's rock solid and going to perform and live up to that draft cost. Because one or two of those guys don't hit, you know, cough cough, Glasnow and Skubal, and you're in a real hole. You know, that's where you can lose pitching, and nobody's going to trade you pitching at that point. You know, when you're that bad in the hole, you're probably going to give up halfway through the season if those two guys are taking a real dump. So like it's just going to be a tough sledding if those guys get hurt or Skubal doesn't pan out. It's just a little tough. Yeah, and if there's a negative regression for Xander. So like those are just where I'm at for this. Yeah, you know, I would like to see what the crowd says, the fans say on this when we post this. We'll see how crazy I am. I love getting the hate in the
Nah,
comments
it's
anyway.
all no. I honestly just to kind of put a bow on the conversation on the team. I see it. I definitely see the if the injury bug plays out the way it would seem that the arms for sure don't look great. We'll agree to disagree on the bats. I think the hitting is pretty stable on this team. But one thing I do want to give at least a minute or two to with this being the biggest draft weekend coming up. If you do have the 6-hole, we kind of cover, we have a mock draft episode for almost every position at this point. 6-hole for me is you're right in the middle. You have to kind of feel out the guys around you almost. It is a tough spot. Starting pitching definitely moves up. You definitely want to try and get you a stabilizer. The thing for me is I would have loved to pair a Logan Webb with a Scoop with a Glasnow in this rotation, and that will make it a lot better. And I'm sure Matt would even agree with that. If you have a Logan Webb as your 2 here, it would look so much better. But sometimes you got that's tough in the middle here in the 6-hole. You kind of really got to play your things. And I'm always an advocate of you can find pitching on the waiver wire. You're not going to find a Vladimir Guerrero Jr. on the waiver wire. So I like to, even though you got to move pitching up, I still like the 3 hitters first, then jump in and grab your starting pitcher. And you kind of just got to, you kind of do want to be more stable, but with some guys like Sonny Gray and Verlander coming off the board, it's tough at starting pitcher right now.
Right, and that's why I said like round 3 is becoming more and more relevant to draft my starting pitcher, especially out of the 6-hole. You know, like you have to wait another 12 picks before you get it, and that's where that run happened on you, where you were just left with Skubal at that point. Everybody else that I would have felt comfortable to pair with Glasnow would have been it. I actually would have
Yeah.
picked the roster stabilizer, especially if I was tapping earlier and allowed me to come back and get the riskier pick. It's just one of those things. So like the way I'm approaching the 6-hole is simple. I get 2 really good bats in the first round, and then depending on if I'm at the end of the draft where like I'm getting a quick turnaround, then I might take a bat. If not, I'm hitting the arm in the 3rd round and not waiting for that 4th. Whereas if I'm like, I forget which direction it's going, but essentially if I'm on the 11th pick at the total top of the draft, then I'll have that luxury of my decision being made for me of which ace is going to fall to me.
Yeah.
So that's where like it's like okay, I'm good with that. But anyway, Dom, last minute thoughts. If not, let's get out of here.
Yeah, no, I don't really have too much to add. Guys, if you been watching these episodes, come on, make sure you give us that 5-star rating on, Apple and Spotify, getting those listener leagues. But that's all for us today. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment, rate, and review. Thank you for our everydayers and new listeners making Locked On Fantasy Baseball your first listen each and every day. But guys, until tomorrow, see ya.
Peace.